Okay, so thanks for attending this KubeVela community meeting. The agenda for today is pretty open. I have one element that I want to comment that was suggested. And I think we also should review one of the previous issues that is one of the most commented ones at this point about versioning. So I will start that way, and obviously we can add anything else to the agenda after that, if that's okay with everyone.
Sounds good. Thank you, Daniel.
So let me share this ticket. You can see my screen, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think this was one interesting ticket that was open last week about an out of memory condition on the KubeVela controller. Apart from the specifics of the element, I would like to get also the opinion of everyone in terms of if you think that there is scenarios that we should prioritize in terms of testing, mainly because while we have some testing infrastructure put in place, these type of issues or where we actually need to probably keep the QLR running in some scenario, something like that, I think are interesting. And I just want to get the opinion of everyone in terms of what do you think? Like, if anybody else has an idea on how to approach this type of things for this type of projects. If not, we will try to set up an end-to-end testing scenario or something like that. But I think it's an interesting discussion. So what do you think?
Yeah, it's interesting because you don't want to go. I mean, the fact is that we cannot test all scenarios, but things that are of importance, I think this looks like to be, unless it's an edge case scenario that happens only once in a blue moon. I would put them in our test scenarios to see if we can reproduce these issues, and you know. If majority of the community is actually having these issues, I think it should become part of our test suite.
Yeah, I was thinking similarly. Like, I mean, in this case, the actual person that opened the ticket also provided the solution because probably he has also found it in somewhere else. But I think that from the point of view of the project, it's important to be able to reproduce it first, right? And to reproduce it, we probably need to set up all these scenario building construct so we can make sure also that we don't put any regression later on this.
Agreed. I think our focus would be on stability of KubeVela for some time, and I think I agree with what you said. If we can actually put up a production thing so that even after the fix, how can we ensure that this is not happening again? Or
Yeah.
not breaking something else.
I completely agree. Okay, I will try to take a look to how this is, if we can piggyback this into any of the scenarios that we have, or how to enforce this, how to reproduce this basically in the easiest way possible with the less amount of resources. I will take a look to it. Cool. Next item was about this ticket, which was about supporting explicit versioning of definitions. Based on the latest community call, we put an example of what could be something similar to that. There were some issues related to how versioning will work from the point of view of Kubernetes and from the point of view of the application. For everyone that was not probably on the later call, this issue is about being able to specify which version of a component definition you would like to use in your application. And I think it opens the way also to define how you will expect KubeVela to update applications as new component definitions becomes available. There was some discussion on how to approach this one of them being compatible with Kubernetes. So for example, if we list the different component definitions, we need to have different names so they don't collide. That was one thing. And the other one, which was one of the proposals, was just adding some labels in the component definition so we can navigate through them in KubeVela whenever we want to match them when we are basically trying to render the application component. One thing that I think we also need to think about was added yesterday is about, I think, more on the behavior of the controller in terms of how we plan to get the updates. And I think it's also interesting if we can comment on this and discuss openly in the community call, like what will you expect in terms of, because in this case, for example, it says like, depending on which perspective you use from the application, you can say like, I want version, I don't know, 2.0 plus. But at the same time, maybe from the point of view of the platform engineer, you wouldn't want to automatically update applications unless you say so. So I think it's interesting in the sense that obviously we can put configuration in everything related to this, but I don't know. What do you think in terms of as a community about this? How would you approach this problem?
I mean, I also think what this latest comment has said, it is somewhat useful, especially when you're running in dev, etc., where there's probably constant churn and you don't have to constantly update. But the problem, Daniel, I'm thinking is that the application has to be rendered again, right? So let's say we use a latest, like the Docker latest, it would not
Mhm.
re-render the application because there is no change in the CR. So which means that the underlying resources that get generated are still going to use the older um, whatever version. So I'm not sure how that would work, though I would like it. I would like it personally. I'd defer to the other community members as to what they think.
Uh, can you explain a little bit more about this? I think I missed something.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. The first option, right, for the latest version. So let's say I have a database
mhm,
component and I'm in my application, I'm saying latest, right?
yeah.
The assumption is that the component right now is internally at, I don't know, some Git hash version number, and then we've changed into or a tag from 1.1 to 1.2. Both of them map, 1.2 now maps to the latest.
Mhm.
But if I have an existing application that is using, component database at latest, the unless we re-render that application,
Yeah,
I don't think the underlying resources would get updated.
yeah, that's
Right.
interesting.
We'll need to be able to automatically trigger that update to all of the existing ones. Like in our case, I think we're pretty much always going to want to pin a major version and roll out all minor changes automatically
Yeah, when
without
you're pinning,
application.
I think, yeah, when you're pinning, because if you're pinning, that should work because when you change, let's say to a newer version, that is a new application. I mean, Kubernetes is going to detect that there's a change. So it's going to
Mhm.
re-render, right? But when you're using latest,
Yeah, I
Kubernetes,
think probably the issue is also like if we want to support this dynamic latest tag,
Hmm?
maybe it's just safer to put versions on stuff. But
Yeah, I agree. I mean, while I think there is a use for the latest
Mhm,
when we are in dev, etc., for at least for testing the
mhm,
components and all of those things. I think it is better to be safe than sorry. Accidentally, somebody just promotes latest to production and whatnot. That would be a bigger disaster. We could just take a stand saying that at this point, um, we're going to we'd be working on making sure that we have a pinned version instead of the latest.
mhm.
Well, I wouldn't want latest, but I would want latest major. Pretty much
Yeah,
the time I would want latest major, and minor and patches I would like to just automatically roll out.
But then that's the same problem that you come to, right? How do you determine that there is a change?
Right.
no,
But even if we're saying that we would pin major and minor, then how would we roll out patches? the problem still remains unless we're going to go all the way down to the level of patching and say you'll always need to supply major, minor, and patch version.
I think we need to, I mean, the application will be rendered internally either way. Like we need to resolve we need to render the application to be able to compare it with the resources that are deployed on Kubernetes. So I don't think we can bypass part of that. It's gonna
So
be
we
tricky
have to
depending on
detect that
the
there is a change in component, and so the controller will have to detect that there's a new component with a patch version, uh, and then re-render the applications that use it.
yeah, it will be more like the reconcile cycle will take the application and will detect that there is a drift between like what is there and the latest render
Correct.
version of the component.
Yeah. So it needs to do that reconciliation as part of that. So it has to check there's a new version and then re-render it.
The only issue here probably will be like try to identify there is potential issue with workflow steps that may modify elements of the application that is going to be deployed. I think we need to check that out. I'm not sure at this point.
You mean like if there's a patch that won't work with the newer component?
Or
But
this type
that,
of steps
yeah,
that modify an option because it's deployed on a particular cluster, things like that.
right.
Well, that's what our test environments are for.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think to Lina's point, I think if you're doing it only on patch upgrades and the major is always like, backward compatible because we're using semantic versioning, then I think we should be okay.
Yeah.
But I think we should capture those pitfalls just to make sure that people don't assume that everything will just automatically work all the time.
Yeah. I will add this after the meeting to the ticket, so there is some continuity also on the discussion.
Perfect.
Okay, cool. Well, apart from that, I don't know if there is any other topic of element at this point that anyone want to comment on.
Nothing from me.
Okay, then it's going to be a fast one today.
Lina, did you have anything? I saw you unmuted.
No, I was just going to say I don't have anything else either.
Okay.
I think there were a couple of questions. Yeah, I connected with another community member, but he was using Argo in a different way. They were doing they're using Vela to render and use the generated resources through Argo. So some of our policies and things may not work exactly the way that he would want. But my advice was to either use customize for such scenarios or go full on KubeVela.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, I don't have anything else on my side either. So
Cool.
okay, so thank you everyone for attending the community meeting. We'll see you on the next one.
Thanks, folks.
Thanks.
Bye.